Voice aajKal, our medium, your message.
Good day, everyone. My name is Navneet Anand from Voice aajKal, our medium, your message. Things are getting a bit legal at Voice aajKal. No, we are not taking law at our hands. Rather, we would be going and shaking hands with a law professional. Harish Prasad from Harish Prasad and Associates. Over 36 years of experience in the field of law here in Parramatta. Let's go and say him hello. Mr. Prasad,
Navneet.
good to see you. Good to see
Same
you.
here, it's excellent.
I just want your 15-20 minutes,
You're welcome.
please. Mr. Prasad, welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
You know, Harish Prasad and Associate that offer a wide range of legal services. Was it your vision all the times to provide one-stop solution?
Yes, I always wanted to be a community lawyer. So it's the way things have turned out in Parramatta. I've ended up with a practice where I'm pretty much providing all types of legal services to my clients.
You've been in Parramatta for, I think, over 35 years. What are the changes that you have seen in Parramatta in 1988 when you started versus today?
A lot of changes. I'm starting to sound like a very old man now, where I tell people that when I first came here, there was one large building. Now you only have to look at Parramatta and see that it now is rivaling Sydney as a major city. And apart from that, the migration or the population mix, so you see that there is a huge multinational population in Parramatta, and that has also helped my practice as a lawyer.
You know, talking about the range of services that you provide here at Harish Prasad and Associates, name the few.
Look, I do a lot of family law work. There's a lot of police matters. Look, it's a mixed bag. We do everything, estate matters. I have a number of lawyers with me, so between all of us, we do pretty well in managing most areas of law.
Look, I think rather than talking here in the office, looking at the weather outside, what a beautiful sunny days we have here in Sydney. What if I take you to a location that you love from the core of your heart?
I look forward to it, Navneet, because I spend too much time in this office.
I think I need to take you out.
Thank you, Navneet, for having me, especially at a beautiful venue like this.
You know, if I have to ask you in your own words, being a lawyer, is it a qualification? Is it a skill or a profession? And a responsibility comes with it.
Combination of all of it. The most important thing, I think, is the responsibility. The legal profession was all about responsibility because we are a profession unlike all others. Our training is such that we are required to uphold standards that other professions are not necessarily required to do. So it is a huge responsibility becoming a lawyer and working as a lawyer.
Becoming a lawyer and continuing to work for these many number of years, you have to get yourself updated from time to time. Working almost 7 days a week and then getting yourself updated, having your skills upgraded as well. How do you balance it?
Well, fortunately, after 36 years, you've become familiar with most of the work. But yes, as lawyers, we're always learning. So anyone who comes with a problem, we have to research, especially if it's litigation, because as you know, people come to us with the expectation and the hope that we're going to give them the correct and the right advice.
Nearly 35 years of practice already. Would you say you have seen life with all its complications at close quarters?
You can say that, absolutely, especially because of the type of work we do. We are dealing with people's emotions, people's expectations, and people who are in some real strife, either with the law or in terms of some business transaction that hasn't worked out. So yes, we do have to learn to appreciate people's expectations and their emotions.
So, are there unreasonable expectations as well from the clients that?
Quite often, people do come with unrealistic expectations, and that's one of the skills you have to have in a gentle way, convincing a client not to go further if they hope to litigate, because that's our job. We wouldn't be doing justice to the client or to the legal system if we acted for someone in a case that is bound to fail. And people sometimes don't like to hear what you tell them, but that's our job.
You know, being a lawyer, you are normally working on the cases with the facts. You're working on the cases with the documentation. You're working on the cases with the witnesses. But does emotions comes on your side of the table as well?
Oh, well, it shouldn't, but you can't help but become emotional in some cases. There have been cases where it can be quite trying on a lawyer dealing with very, very sort of tragic kind of circumstances where people are involved in a litigation situation. So yes, but if you're a true professional, then you should take emotions out of it, because people don't pay you for that. People pay you for legal service.
How much of a lawyer's success comes from understanding the law, and how much from understanding the people?
Well, it's a combination of the two, but first and foremost, you must understand the law, because that's why people are there paying for your service. So yes, it really is law, but then as time goes on, we acquire certain skills where we learn to handle clients, give them advice, I suppose direct them in the right direction, so that they can get out of a legal problem with ease, and not having spent too much money.
You know, having spent 3.5 decades in the law practice, if I take you back to your Fiji days, let's go back in time. There was a part in your life, there was a projector, there was a screen, and an audience.
Yes, well, I boast that I was born into the showbiz. So my father had a cinema business, and as the oldest son in the family, I was thrown in the deep end very early. So I learned to run projection machines and sell tickets and do all sorts of things growing up as a child, until I came to Australia to study. And it gave me a good insight into not just the movie industry, Bollywood movies, but also a good understanding of business, because in the end that's what it was.
From that experience, what have you injected in your current systems?
Well, it gave me fluency in Hindi, as you know, watching a lot of Bollywood movies growing up, but also real life experience in running a business. Even as a child, I was quite actively involved in business, and of course taught you to deal with people as well.
Back in Sydney, so over the number of years, there must have been cases which have become the case studies, not only for your team, for others as well. So if you can share some of those.
Well, I don't know how many became case studies for others, but there were some cases which we will all remember and created some sort of a precedent. So there was a defamation case, which was a fairly big case, involved a former Prime Minister of Fiji here in the Supreme Court, which we succeeded in representing the Prime Minister of Fiji. And there was a case involving a big water company, Fiji Water, suing one of my clients who was a smaller business, water bottle business from Fiji. And again, that was a classic David and Goliath battle. And again, fortunately, we succeeded in that as well. And these were quite significant cases at the time.
As the head of the company, what is the key advice and message that you give to your staff to make sure that ethos and values of Harish Prasad and associates are always in the focus?
I've told them to do what I've always done, which is put yourself in a position of the client. So anyone that comes to you has an expectation, and if you're a sensitive person, you'll say, well, if I'm in that person's boots, what would I expect from my lawyer? And if you use that as a kind of a guide, then most times you will try and do the right thing, and of course, and do it at a level where a client does not spend more money than they have to.
With the number of years that you have been in the practice, what I could imagine that there were clients who came into your office back in 1988, their sons or even grandchildren would have become your clients.
Yes, over 36 years, I've gone into the third generation now, and in fact, last week, I had a young person who came to me for a conveyancing matter, and I sort of mentioned to him that I'd acted for his father, and he said no, I had also acted for his grandfather. So yes, and I'm quite fortunate that I have people who've been loyal clients, and hopefully they will continue to be so in the long term.
With the number of areas that you work with, conveyancing, family law, immigration assistant, appeals, and other cases, which one is the one that's closest to the heart?
Look, after all these years, I kind of treat every area as important, but an area that I do most work in, and again, not out of choice, but because there's so much work in that area, is family law. So we do a fair bit of family law matters, and this is the most challenging area because in Australia, the stats show that marriage breakdowns are very, very common, and has always been increasing in terms of figures. But the government's done a good job in dealing with ways of resolving without going to court. So mediations and things like that have become very, very significant and important part of family law. And I have also done training as a mediator, so it's given me a good insight into helping people resolve family law issues in a way that I like to think other lawyers may not have the ability to do.
What would be your advice to all those individuals who take the law for granted and take it in their own hands?
Well, that's foolhardy because unless you are confident or unless you're a lawyer, you should never take law into your own hands because you're going to be caught out at some stage, either a government agency coming after you or in business life, the other people involved in the business will come after you. So Australia has become very sophisticated in terms of law and order, and my advice to anyone is don't do that. And always be aware of a legal position. So if you're in business, you should know what your obligations are. And people sometimes push their luck too far and quite often get caught out.
You know, at times what I could see, there are matters that involve not only the Australian courts as well as the courts overseas, for example, India. So do you offer any of the services to be the bridge between the two?
Yes, family law is a common one where almost half of the matters we do, if a party is strongly connected to India, you find that there is often a parallel proceeding. So, and these are all about tactics. So sometimes people feel that they can get some sort of an advantage by running the case in India, even though both of them live in Australia, and that is a common scenario and does complicate things a little bit.
So what you're saying is, even if both parties are living in Australia, there could be parallel cases being run in India. It could be the pressure tactics.
Yes, yes, it's all tactics, and because India has some different laws. So, a perfect example is when you deal with property and children matters in Australia, or even a divorce. You could have one party applying for restitution of conjugal rights in India, which is a unique law to India, and that's where the party suggests that I want to reconcile, and the laws in India to some extent support that sort of action. So yes, they become very, very complex matters if that happens.
So do you provide any of the services to support this sort of cases
Yes,
too?
I have lawyers in my office who have had experience in India and have contacts as well. So we try and guide them. Again, by and large, we are here to represent them in Australia, and as long as we have a good understanding of what's going on in India, we're able to inform the court of that. Because courts here find it a bit, well, obviously find it quite difficult to deal with matters when they don't really understand the laws in India or what's happening in India.
So moving on to another chapter, touching upon what looks like a threat, but that can be an opportunity as well. How do you see artificial intelligence playing the role in your profession?
Well, it already has started, and I must say I've seen so much change in technology from the time I started. So, when I first started, the fax machine had come in, and now we have all sorts of technology, and it's only a matter of time now that I think at some stage we'll be dealing with machines, advice coming out of machines, and that I don't know whether that is a good thing. Fortunately, I won't be around for the long term, but the profession has changed drastically and continues to do so. But I still believe that lawyers are going to be around for as long as people are going to be around, because there's a role that lawyers have in society that cannot be replaced by machines or artificial intelligence.
So there are a lot of youngsters that I know of are wanting to enter in the field of law. Advice from someone, an institution of your own, and advice for them would be enormous help. What qualities do you think they should have and cultivate to be successful in the business as a lawyer?
Well, I have PLTs, or young graduates, come into my office all the time. In the last 20 years, I've probably had at least 30 or 40, if not more, and they spend a bit of time talking to me because they've just ventured out into the legal field. They've just got a degree, and they're getting a bit of experience. And I like talking to them, especially those that show a lot of interest. And some of them tend to be quite pessimistic, quite negative. They feel that, they're not going to get a decent job, or they've made the wrong decision. And some of them are very, very talented, and you can see they've got the passion for law. So my advice, first and foremost, is you got to have a passion for that job, for that profession. Like any profession, if you're not passionate, then you are in the wrong game. And apart from that, you don't necessarily have to be a court barrister. You can be in all sorts of different fields these days with a law degree. So choose your path carefully. You may end up being a migration lawyer, you may end up being a conveyancing lawyer, or you may just specialize in family law, for example. That is where the profession is. And if you combine your education with your passion, you will succeed. And as I said before, because lawyers are going to be around forever, as far as I know, and the good ones will always succeed.
Before I wrap up, a lot of us as an Australian citizens have the responsibility to be called upon as a jury for certain cases. So what are the cautions that one must keep when they're sitting on that table?
Well, the jury is the average person. Our jury system is probably one of the best systems we've had over hundreds of years, I think, where if a person is charged with a criminal offense, the innocence and guilt is going to be determined by the person's peers, meaning other people in the community. So it's a great system where after a trial is completed, and during that time the jury is there to observe, listen to everyone, and at the end the judge gives certain legal directions to the jury, and they retire to a room and they have to then come to a decision of whether or not the person is guilty. And I believe it's a great system, and not all cases are interesting, but and people try to avoid jury duty, but it's an obligation all citizens have, because that's what makes our society function.
I fully agree with you. Coming back to Harish Prasad from Harish Prasad and Associate. To me, such a successful lawyer and businessman, having the same mobile number since very long time and being in the same office since 1988. The number is 0411 758 758. Am I correct?
Absolutely, Navneet. You've known me a long time, so you probably remember my number now.
Thank you so much. I would love to get to your Pyramid office to continue these discussions. What a wonderful time I had talking to you here in Sydney with a wonderful background of Harbour Bridge and Opera House.
Well, Navneet, my office doesn't have this view, but you're welcome to my office, and I look forward to that.
Mr. Prasad, once again, thank you so much. My name is Navneet Anand, signing out for Voice aajKal, our medium, your message. From Kiribili, we would be getting into Pyramid office to have more insights with Mr. Prasad. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Navneet.